Mr. Secretary, you're saying you don't need the money right now?
No, sir, we're going to need the money very soon.
I'm talking about right now. It's a timing issue?
I would say largely, sir, yes. That could we always use some, what we don't want to do is get into a situation where we're trying to spend money just because it's about to expire.
Agreed.
We'd rather find that, fund it as the projects need it as they go forward.
Where's the money come from for the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund?
Sir, it's a value-based user fee that is charged against all cargoes entering or exiting the United States.
Okay. It's got some money in it, does it?
It does. And again, to be used over time.
Right. This proposed budget only proposes using $1.7 billion. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's below the mark that we set, is it not?
Yes, sir.
How come?
Welcome back to Right View Nation, the place where truth still matters and American values aren't up for negotiation. If you're sick and tired of bloated bureaucracies, endless excuses, and taxpayer dollars being buried under red tape, then you're in the right place. Now let me tell you something, folks. What we just witnessed in that Senate committee is exactly what's wrong with Washington, D.C. Career bureaucrats and appointed officials stumbling over their own explanations, dodging accountability, and defending dysfunction like it's a badge of honor. So let me break this down for you like you're five, because apparently, that's the only way D.C. understands anything. You've got billions of dollars sitting in these so-called trust funds. Inland Waterways Trust Fund, Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund. Money that came straight from taxes paid by hardworking Americans in the tug and barge industry and from shippers moving goods in and out of this country. And what's their brilliant plan? Not to spend it. Why? Timing issues. That's right, folks. Bureaucratic doublespeak 4. We have no urgency, no accountability, and no respect for the people footing the bill. Let me remind you, this isn't monopoly money. This isn't the federal government playing banker in some endless game. This is your money, America. Money that was collected with a purpose. Maintaining our harbors, dredging our waterways, improving navigation systems, and protecting communities from flooding. But instead of putting it to work, they're letting it sit there while our infrastructure crumbles, ports back up, and shipping costs skyrocket. And when asked why, they just shrug and say, we'll need it later. That's the mindset of people who have never had to live paycheck to paycheck. People who have never earned a dime in the private sector, but have no problem hoarding yours. Let's talk about the real insult here.
I've got a few questions, gentlemen. Let me start with you, Mr. Secretary. I'm trying to understand how you and all of you in OMB are thinking here. Where does the money come from for the Inland Waterways Trust Fund?
Senator, it's principally raised by a tax on the diesel fuel used in the tug and barge industry.
Yeah. Do you know the balance in that account off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll be happy to provide that to you for the record.
Okay.
Exactly, but it is not insignificant.
I'm sorry?
The balance is not insignificant.
Okay. The proposed budget proposes not to spend it. Why would we? It can't be used for anything else. Why would we not spend it?
Sir, well, first of all, most of the needs that and I'm going to kind of back up with the Corps' capabilities. Most of the needs that we were currently capable of using that trust fund for were moved forward into the 25 spending plan. So a lot of that were taken care. A lot of those projects were funded in 25 pretty close to their full capabilities in the interim future. And it also, the advantage of the trust funds is that they're designed to be for monies to be raised to used, including out years, and over a longer period of time. So, we moved the funds forward into 25 for most of the projects that were currently ongoing, and then the projects, the money, there were balances left that will be used in future years to fund projects as they come up and the Corps' capability come available.
So Mr. Secretary, you're saying you don't need the money right now?
No, sir, we're going to need the money
And
very
you need
soon.
it- I'm talking about right now. It's a timing issue?
I would say largely, sir, yes. That there, could we always use some, what we don't want to do is get into a situation where we're trying to spend money just because it's about to expire.
Agreed.
We'd rather find that, fund it as the projects need it as they go forward.
Where's the money come from for the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund?
Sir, it's a value-based user fee that is charged against all cargoes entering or exiting the United States.
Okay. It's got some money in it, doesn't it?
It does. And again, to be used over time.
Right. This proposed budget only proposes using 1.7 billion, is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's below the mark that we set, is it not?
Yes, sir.
How come?
Again, more of a timing issue. Some things were moved forward. Others, the president did put a focus on what were principal federal responsibilities, which is the maintenance and dredging of federal channels. And so, again, the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund is to be used over time for those projects.
Okay. Well, nobody's thinking about using this money for something else, are they?
No, sir.
Okay. General, I want to ask you a question about bringing these projects in on budget and on time. I know you said it was engineering. We've got to get the engineering right, project management right, team right. Let me give you an example. I'm not going to beat this to death, but, and I'm just picking a project. We've got a lot of projects in Louisiana, just like Alaska has a lot of projects. Everybody has a lot of projects. But the Inland Harbor Navigation Canal in New Orleans. 10 years ago, we projected it would cost about $951 million. Now the cost is up to about $4.7 billion. And the Corps says it will take 14 years. I mean, I understand inflation, but why? And I'm using this as an example.
So Senator, the Inner Harbor Navigation Canal down there, where the intercoastal waterway bisects and gets across and up onto the Mississippi River, is absolutely key. And you know the history that we've had on multiple lawsuits and injunctions over the years. A lot of it built from the lack of trust from the local communities, particularly the lower Ninth Ward.
I know.
So that cost estimate, and for everybody who's listening, that IHNC is also part of the flood protection for the greater New Orleans area, the river-facing gates. So it's imperative that we get this right. And what I told the district to do is to make sure that they have put in their cost estimates the risks associated. Most of those risks are most of those risks are elements of not having local support to build this. We want to get a team together.
How do you quantify that?
So that's what we owe you. You take a risk that it's going to get delayed, and then you try your best to put money associated with that would get delayed. So we would have loved to have built this thing for less than $1 billion 10 years ago, but the court cases have prevented us from doing that. The lack of trust from the citizens of the lower Ninth Ward have prevented us from doing that. So we're trying to build that trust so that we don't end up in this infinite loop of litigation.
I got it. All right, Senator Murkowski's here. I want to ask you one more question. And you're well aware of all this. For whatever reason, sea levels are rising. Our land in South Louisiana is sinking. Part of that is because over time, sediment becomes more and more compacted. Where did that settlement come from? That settlement came from the Mississippi River, which used to overflow, which was a blessing and a curse. But our Corps did an extraordinary job, at our request, of levying the Mississippi River. We weighed the cost and the benefit and said the right thing to do here is to levy the river. Well, that obviously stopped the settlement. Okay? And I'm not suggesting we take the levies down, by the way. What do we do? We're not going to take the levies down. The land's sinking. There's no new settlement coming in. The settlement's becoming more compacted, and the sea levels are rising. What would you do if you were king for a day? General, let me start with you, and then I'll ask the secretary.
Sure. Chairman Kennedy, so some of the projects are that we have a tremendous amount of non-structural projects going on in South Louisiana.
And I'm not asking you to comment on any particular project. I get all the politics and the wailing and the national gnashing of teeth,
Right.
and everybody's bowels are in an uproar over which one's the best one. I get that. I'm just asking you, what approach should we take?
So raising homes to deal with sea level rise coming up and the land sinking, that non-structural approach is a tool that we're starting to execute at scale in southern Louisiana. What we're also taking a look at is supporting the state of Louisiana in whatever settlement diversion paths that it's choosing to take. They had applied for a permit and were
Do you think
granted it.
settlement diversion works?
In some instances, I believe it does. It has to be done very carefully. And anytime we move the Mississippi River off from where it's going to someplace else, that's going to have tremendous forces. And so we have to take a look at that mindfully. But I believe we have the engineering expertise, and working in conjunction with the state, I believe that we can use that tool effectively.
Now, do you, on this settlement diversion, are you saying we should do it in small amounts?
Pilot
Or
projects.
larger amounts, or does that matter?
I think pilot projects to prove that we know what we think we know are always wise.
So you're thinking of a pilot project?
I think those,
We've done some.
we have done some.
We don't have enough pilots?
I'd owe you a better, more detailed answer on that.
Okay. What do you think, Mr. Secretary?
Senator, I certainly agree that the Corps' expertise in moving and doing sediment projects and doing a traditional Corps approach will be one of the tools that has to happen. I think we need to think about the other side of some of the stuff the Corps does, and that's using the regulatory program to create some incentives for the private sector to do positive things.
For example?
I'll use a perfect example in South Louisiana. Right now, in the 404 program, we cannot give a mitigation bank credit for preventing subsidence losses of wetlands. Those coastal wetlands losses are amounting to about the only losses nationally in wetlands resources. But we don't have a mechanism now between, I don't think it's law, it's really regulation, that would allow someone, for example, there are several large landowners down there that at a relatively low cost, a few $1 million, could barrier the breaches that have been into the coastal wetlands for a long time, and that would stop some of the saltwater incursion, which accelerates the wetlands losses and some of the subsidence. But if they could sell credits for 404 purposes for elsewhere in Louisiana, that would provide the economic incentive for doing that. But we can do it. So now you've got people in South Louisiana going up to North Louisiana to buy credits, to do development.
Gotcha.
There's a mismatch. We need to find some more creative ways to use the regulatory system in a positive manner to help.
Okay. I want to sit down. We'll sit down and talk about that.
Absolutely,
Thank
Senator.
you. Thank you for your creative thinking. I want to be sure I understand you, General. You think diversion works?
I believe there's cases where it can be part of the solution.
You
Yes.
think it can work in South Louisiana?
Yes.
One project in New Orleans, the Inner Harbor Navigation Canal. Originally projected at just under $1 billion, it's now clocking in at nearly $5 billion and counting. Why? Because of lawsuits, delays, community mistrust, and every excuse in the bureaucratic playbook. Hey General, with all due respect, how does it cost 5 times more to dig a hole in the ground and keep water out of it? You mean to tell me, in 10 years, no one thought to get the community on board? No one thought to plan around potential litigation? That's not just incompetence, that's corruption in slow motion. And let me tell you something. If this were the private sector, every single one of these guys would have been fired years ago. Now we shift gears to a topic the left loves to scream about: climate change. Sea levels are rising. The land is sinking. So, what's the left's solution? More regulation, more taxation, and of course, more government control. But here's what the hearing revealed. The actual solution is far more practical. Restore the sediment flow from the Mississippi River that we blocked with levees decades ago. Simple science. Common sense. What's stopping it? You guessed it, government red tape and environmental regulations that prevent people from doing the right thing. We've got landowners ready to invest in restoration projects. We've got engineers ready to build. But because the rules won't let you sell mitigation credits for preventing wetlands loss, the entire process grinds to a halt. Let me ask you, who benefits from that? Certainly not the people in southern Louisiana watching their land wash into the Gulf of Mexico. This is where conservatives have been right all along. Big government doesn't solve problems. It creates them. And then it hires more bureaucrats to study the problems they just created. You've got the secretary and the general agreeing that sediment diversion and home elevation work. They've done pilot projects. They've seen the results. But guess what? They still need permission to keep going. This isn't about protecting the environment. This is about protecting power. And they're never going to let the private sector solve problems because it would make the government look bad. Let's be honest. If this is how the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Department of Transportation, and the Office of Management and Budget manage public resources, then it's a national embarrassment. Billions unspent. Projects delayed for decades. Trust funds gathering dust. And the American people, especially in places like Louisiana, are paying the price with flooding, sinking land, and broken infrastructure. This is not governance. This is failure. Institutional, deep state, tax-sucking failure. What do we need instead? Spending reform. If the money's there, spend it. Use it to fix the dam problem. Local control. Let states and counties lead the way. Louisiana knows more about its wetlands than a DC bureaucrat in a suit. Regulatory overhaul. Clear the way for private investment, for real restoration, and for innovation that doesn't require 12 government agencies to say yes. Accountability. Any project that goes $4 billion over budget should result in firings, not promotions. So the next time someone tells you the government is the solution, show them this disaster. Show them the $5 billion canal. Show them the billions of taxpayer dollars being saved for later while Americans suffer now. This is why we fight. This is why Right View Nation exists. To call out this madness and to stand up for the everyday Americans who make this country great, not the pencil pushers in Washington. We want less government, more results, and a country that works as hard as the people who built it. If you're fired up like I am, hit that like button, subscribe to Right View Nation, and drop a comment below. What would you do if you were king for a day? How would you fix the mess in Louisiana? Let's make our voice heard, not just in Washington, but in every town across America. Stay strong. Stay free. And as always, God bless the United States of America.